I'm going to work on a very, very conservative between 1 to 2% interested. That's not people booking a call with you. That's just saying, yeah, maybe I'd like to know more information. Okay. Because we need that 100 leads. So how are we going to do this? So if we need between 1 and 2%, we need to send like 7,500 connection requests. Now, if you don't have 7,500 people in your niche of who you're targeting, and you should niche down, I'll explain more later when we get to the messaging part. There's ways to overcome this with recycling stuff or actually providing more value to a smaller list, okay? But I'm just going to walk you through the base case scenario, because also what you can do is if there's only 2,000 people in your niche, then you can always run that niche for a few months and then go on to a slightly different niche, that expanding out and find another 2,000. I'm going to show you some really cool tips and tricks to get tidier lists, because when it comes to automation, the inputs are really, really important, okay? But basically what we do is when we take any new coach on, we get their campaign set up immediately to run an A/B split test just all the time. So that it's not, because we work specifically with people who are busy executives who aren't yet leaving their job. So we have to use automation for everything, okay? And so the way we start is we start them off at about 30 connection requests a week. LinkedIn can handle that. If you've never run anything, I would start at 20 and build up. But then we just build it up over the weeks until we hit 50 on outbound connections. And then we use some other strategies to add another 10 per week. And basically what that does is, first week, you never send on weekends. LinkedIn doesn't like that. I've tested it, and you get what's called fuse limits. So 5 days a week, 30 connection requests per day. I'll show you how to find the people in a search in a second. I just want to show you the overview of the strategy. So 150 a week at first, then 200. It starts adding up like this, okay? So 150 and 300, 500, 700. So we're scaling. The end of 26 weeks, that is 7,000 connection requests if you follow just this plan alone. And it goes very conservative, because after this, we're only sending 60 a week, which is maxing out 50 connection requests and then only 10 open profiles. And each one of these, we're running a split test at the same time on a very small part of the messaging. I'll show you what we test. And the first 6 weeks, literally, you can be terrible. Really, really terrible. I only need you to write a message that is so bad, only one person out of 200 people is interested. That'll give you 6 total leads. And then using these numbers, the 50% discovery and everything like that, it just turns into this many discovery calls, this many sales calls. We get this many total sales calls. Once we get to 4 sales calls, because we've got a closing rate of 25%, we'll finally hopefully get our first client. So just this strategy alone builds into being able to get to the 10 clients. And you've got to know those numbers, because now you've got a target to aim for. You know, right, in the first 6 weeks, I need to get 1 out of 200 people interested in what I say. Then the next 6 weeks, I need to get 1 out of 100 people interested in what I say. Then 1 out of 75 or 66. How does that work? Then 1 out of 50. Okay. That's all we're doing to have a key strategy in place that doesn't take a lot of time to run. And we're running these tests all the time. Okay. And then, so this is the first 3 steps of the plan. And then I'll give you the last step, and then I'll go into the tactics. I'll literally show you some of the campaigns and messages and how you search, some tricks there. So we end up with our 7,000 messages, our 100 leads, our 50 discovery calls, 40 sales calls, and hopefully our 10 clients if we're anywhere near these numbers. And just think, even if you only did half of that, I mean, that would be pretty good, right? But on the other side, what this is doing is, this is kicking off with 7,000 connection requests, an average of 15% connection rate. And that is what we can get. So when we look at our member data collectively, this is where we end up. We end up at an average 15% rate. This is just for the last 3 months when we're looking at our client data of what we're sending out for them. This isn't all our clients. This is just the one we've done the automated outreach for. So that's fairly reasonable when you're doing automation like this and the direct messages, which I'll show you. So that's going to kick off 1,050 connections. 50 of those will have booked calls. So you're building a list size of 1,000 people. That should then split into you doing what we call a top 100, which is getting 100 people to do personalized outreach to twice every 2 weeks. So we tell our coaches to do 10 per day, every working day. So it splits it up nicely, but you could chunk it together. Then making sure you've got an automated follow-up to actually message them both on LinkedIn and in emails if you're getting their emails, and actually dial them. Dialing leads is so critical. I cannot tell you enough how important that is. And then obviously like posting content to nurture them and remind them of you and bring them back in anyway. So you'll be building that list size. So that nurture, but anything we get from this list, and for example, one of our coaches, Dan, has signed 2 clients every single month this year, just using this strategy, this personalized outreach from to 100 people. Okay. And that's all cherry on top of the main outbound strategy. So now I'm going to tell you the tools and messages and how to perfect your searches to make this core part happen. Okay. So I've got 5 minutes left. Any questions about that before I actually go into really tactical, like what to write, how to search, everything like that? Let me check the chat. Hope this is all making sense. So how much time it takes?
One new message. How much time does this take?
So I'll show you how I do this, Lynn. Is in the first 90 minutes that someone works with us, we set up this first A/B split test campaign. And then literally doing every test after this, when you know what you're doing, takes you 5 minutes extra. So the only time on top of this is actually managing the leads that come in. Now, we do that in a specific automated way as well. So it goes into every person's Slack channel so we can see what the message is and we can help reply on that. But it would be a nice problem to have if the entire 6 months worth of your primary marketing strategy takes you like 5 hours total. And then the only actual thing you have to deal with is checking the messages that are coming in. So it does not take a lot of time. That's what we are obsessed about because of who we work with. So hopefully that helps. I'll show you how quickly you can get this set up and the tools. Any other questions before I carry on? No? Okay, cool. I'll go fast because we've only got a few more minutes. Right. So the tool we use is a white labeled version of Expandy, but you guys can just get yourself Expandy and use it. Some of you may have heard of it, but that's what we use. It's the easiest one. It's the safest one we found. So you can go to Expandy, you can create your account, it takes minutes, and you can be starting your automations. Okay. Now, when you use Expandy, you have to pull in searches, ideally from Sales Navigator, though if you do have a list, you can pull that in as well. Now, I want to teach you a really cool trick that no one else I've never seen anyone else do this, because the big problem with automation, and I'll get to messages in a second, the big problem is automation is how do you get a nice clean list so you aren't so one, it seems personalized, so you're still getting a good response rate, but also that you it seems personalized, but you're not ending up with people that you shouldn't be messaging either. Because if you just try and do general messaging, it's not going to get a good response rate. So you've got to try and be specific in who you target, but then not piss anybody off by sending the wrong messages. How do you do that? I'll tell you my secret trick I've never heard anyone else speak about. It doesn't work for all industries, but it works for more than you think. So you should all niche down on a particular industry in most scenarios. It just makes it much easier to talk about the pain points and messages. You don't speak to the same way a nursery owner as you do an airline. So you can niche down and find who you should talk to. And then what you do is you take your particular industry, and instead of putting it in, never, ever use LinkedIn industries. We've tested it with so many people. It is just horrendous. It just always goes wrong. Do not use this in your search. Also, keywords isn't great. If you really know what you're doing, you can do, and using Boolean connectors like or not, but it's still not great. My secret tactic is I take whatever the industry is and I put it in current company name, because people aren't that original when they create their business. So I've done this with all sorts. So we've got one coach, he deals with scaffolders. So I just put scaffolders, scaffolding, like that. And then I'm going to filter by, you can filter by seniority level, but you've got to be a bit careful with this. We usually find it's best to, you start and do a seniority level owner like this. And then you look at what they call themselves. So CEO, founder, owner, CEO, founder, owner. We don't have any directors here yet, but that might work. Director. And then I get rid of owner and I come back and I put it in current job title, it just usually creates a more specific search. So CEO, owner, founder, director. And then we usually look for a list size of between 1,000 to 2,500. But you can see I've already got 4,000 here, and then I could go geography. So United Kingdom, for example. Perfect, 2,500. This would be the perfect list. So now, look, I've got all these companies that literally have scaffolding in the name. Like, how targeted can I now be? Just no one ever does it. And when you try and do it by industry or other stuff, you get stuff from all over the place. Now, if you come across lots of stuff in your industry that they have something else in the name that you know you don't want, you can actually use the reverse and say, okay, well, I don't want other consultants. I don't want recruiters. And then you just click on the box and it will get rid of anybody with that in the name there. Okay, so that's how you manage that. Now, there's loads more I could say about searching, but I just wanted to give that cool tip because I've never seen anybody else do it like that. And for dialing in a specific list, it makes a huge difference. Okay, now let me go the next thing. Oh, sorry. So once you've got your list imported into Expandy, and you can watch the video how to do that, you don't need me to show you how to click here and there. Then, what if you don't have a sales navigator? What is the workaround? You can use the regular search, or you can upload a list or groups. But for this, I will say this, as a business coach, one client for you that paying you 1 month, depending on your prices, can buy you Sales Navigator for 3 years. So sometimes you just got to invest in your own growth and business and be willing to back yourself to make it work. Okay. That's what I would say on that one. I know it's a bit harsh, but you know, it's what I would say. What was I going to say? Right. Messages. What do you send? Now, this is the big one where people get really stuck. People get so split up between, okay, should I just be really long-term nurturing and nice and send this and this and that and woo them for 3 months before I even ask for anything? We don't like that approach. We actually go very direct with our outreach right into the connection message. We've tested both. We've tested not putting it in the connection message and just user looking forward to connecting. And that's okay if you've got very small industry and you're seeing a big difference between that and the direct message. But most of the time, we find the direct message gets a higher connection request sent to interest rate. And then you're only dealing with people. It also gets a lot less negative responses. When you send a very generic connection message, and then you start trying to pitch them after a while, you get lots of no thanks, no thanks, no thanks, this. Whereas when you put it directly in the connection message, if they're not interested, they just don't connect with you anyway. So you never have to deal and filter with all of it. So this is what we use here. We use, depending on whether we've got proof from our client from a past career or we've actually got proof with current client, well, past clients, we'll use one of these templates. So it's, I see you're in, and you see how we can pick a role because our search was so targeted. So it doesn't feel like it's automated in the country, in the specific industry. It might vary slightly, but it's kind of like this. Are you looking to, and then the main hook or desire, getting into your client's head, and then the little mini case study in terms of what we're doing. Then we just expand that a little bit more in the second message, and then just send up. This is called our 5x5 system. So we just send 5 follow-ups, reminding them of that, and we test the hell out of that campaign, 300 in each campaign. And then once that campaign is finished, we duplicate the winner, and then we change one little thing. So we'll change this thing and test different in this one. So instead of, are you looking to, maybe instead of testing something positive, we'll test the negative. So instead of, are you looking to increase profit by, 100,000 in the next quarter? We might say, does your business feel in chaos or something like that? But we'll make it industry specific as well. And when you just test out of that to see what gets the best response for your industry, and you just keep going until you're dialing in on this automation strategy, improving your rate and improving your volume. So what you're basically doing is, sorry to jump back everywhere, I'm just trying to get it all in. You're just trying to move from the bottom left here up to the top right in this thing. You're trying to go from a low interest rate and low volume up to being able to do higher volume by moving this way and improving your messaging. So you're ending up with, 5 leads per week, let's say, just on autopilot week after week after week. That's nice and predictable for you while building your list. And then the final thing, because I know I'm over my time, is once you get a lead, you want to run what we call a 5x5, again, follow-up strategy. So just dial in what is your most common responses when you get a positive one, a neutral, or more information. Oh, would love to work in the future. I already work with a coach. Have your single message responses ready about how you would reply to those. So if it's positive, great. What time would you like to book a call to discuss? Okay. Send that manually, and then you can build automation again in Expandy with 5 days of follow-up, and then 1 per week or once every 3 to 4 days for 5 weeks. And if they don't respond after that, and that's offering value and another CTA, all to a calendar page to book. And literally, we paid over $10,000 just to work on this with a company to get our booking rate up. But this is all they do to make it work. And you just dial in that system until you are moving up in volume, moving up in conversion. And it's just a balance between the right input on the search side, the dialing in the messaging, and then ramping up the volume as you test. And most coaches just don't test, and it's crazy because once you've got that dialed in, you can just add clients whenever you want. And then everything else you do on top of that is a strategy, but it can all be automated. So I know that was really, really shotgun, like just really fast through it. I hope that was useful in terms of some nuggets and thinking holistically. I've tried to cram our entire 6-month plan basically into and funnel into the 20 minutes. So I'm happy to answer questions about that at the end. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too mental.
That was fantastic, Xander. And it seems to me that we might need to get you back. By the way, you can blame me for having him do the cramming because we've got more than one speaker here today. But before I let you go, Xander, you're building a business in a box for coaches. So just tell us quickly, what's inside that box?
There is literally nothing. Everything you can think of, you think you need to grow your business, and then everything you can't think of that you need to grow your business, So, for example, you probably all think you need a follow-up sequence to nurture leads or something. We have a year of those built out for our coaches. That's all automated, like all the CRM, every invoice, every calendar thing, the entire 6 to 12 months worth of delivery, 100 coaching sessions to deliver. It's just endless. We are just obsessed with creating the best business coach in the world, and being the kind of the most exclusive license in the world for that. And so we just keep going. I sometimes joke with my coaches, what do you actually now do and spend your time doing? Because everything gets automated, like you saw as well, pulled into our each of the Slack channels, that are private Slack channels that we have, that we work with each coach. We've even just started this month was the first month we've actually closed a client for a coach. He had to go in hospital for an operation. So we said, we'll just coach your clients for a few months. He couldn't speak. And Pam actually delivered the sales calls as well and closed a client at a higher price. So we just take everything basically now. There's nothing that you don't have. And if you manage to think of something, we would just build it with our team. But that's what's in the box, everything. Cool.
So Xander, while we continue, just put your website or any contact details in the chat box. So if anyone's interested, you can just get hold of Xander. And of course, you can always ask me anyway. Xander's basically part of our community now as well.
Yeah,
Xander, thank you for that.
Welcome.
So switching then to you, Alistair, you take a completely different approach. You sort of tackle it from a partnership kind of world. Why don't you run us through how you're thinking about your business and how you go about building your coaching business?
Well, thanks for that introduction. Wayne, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So I'll maybe just take you through my journey to where we are now in terms of 2023, because I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of you who are starting out in terms of your own coaching journey. So when I left corporate and that, I'd started, as Wayne had shared a little bit earlier, with my own business. And I realized corporate didn't teach me all the things that I actually needed to know and understand to actually run a business myself. And I realized that very acutely when I found a book called E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And he spoke about the whole issue of technicians, managers, and entrepreneurs within a business, and this idea of developing your entrepreneurial skill set. And if you are a coach and haven't read that book before, I'd encourage you to look at getting it, because it does help us understand the individuals we're dealing with as well. So it made me realize I need to actually go back to school in a sense and develop that entrepreneurial skill set myself. And as I engaged with clients, I'd be picking up various issues and problems that they had, and I'd start moving beyond just as Wayne had shared, the hosting and the website development, to start expanding the sort of value offering and providing solutions and all of that to our clients. As things then progressed, what I did realize is that I do have some strengths which I picked up in corporate and still remained with me within the entrepreneur space. And that was things like being able to understand business systems and processes, understand business model development. For my last 3 years of corporate, I was involved in a business re-engineering and ERP implementation. So that gave me a huge skill set, which I was able to take out to market into the SME space that I was focusing on. And one of the things that I was very passionate about is to learn. So I've made it a thing to learn as much as I can, because I realized, especially when I read that book, is that as much as I might understand A or B or C or finance or systems from a corporate point of view where I learned these skills, I don't necessarily have the skill set to understand each of the hats that needs to be worn in a business. And I made it a purpose to go and learn and to be trained, and where possible, even get accredited, even if it's across a myriad of streams that are needed in a business, to the point of even learning how to do digital marketing so that I can understand it, because I could then apply it to my own consulting business. And over the course of time, it started to move from just sort of building out sites and that for clients into an aspect of consulting as well, project development, all of that. And when I started out, I didn't necessarily see myself as a coach. If I looked at what a coach is somebody who provides guidance to a client on their goals and helps them reach their full potential. I was doing that in a way, but didn't feel comfortable calling myself a coach. I rather referred to myself as a mentor, shared my knowledge, my experience. It's only now that I'm comfortable saying, look, I coach people, I coach business owners, I coach their team, but through a very different approach. And as COVID-19 hit and I saw clients being faced with the prospect of having their businesses impact and closing down, I made a point of re-looking at my own business model and to start accelerating what I had in mind for the future, which was a holistic approach to business development, just out of what I was picking up the whole time as I engaged with clients and saw their problems and the needs that they had. And I had one of two choices. Either I go and develop all of this myself, so in terms of the collateral content, the systems, the approaches, all of that, or I look at maybe partnering. And HubSpot was catalyst in terms of that. Before we got to lockdown, I'd been a HubSpot partner for a year. And in that partnership with HubSpot, which is a global leading CRM platform, I saw the value of partnering with global technology companies or thought leadership companies. And when I stepped away from HubSpot and looked for an alternative CRM for that and came across Zoho and the Zoho One offering, that really became the catalyst to reposition what I was doing, increase the value offering, and approach it from a completely different perspective by the time we got to the end of lockdown. So that meant I needed to identify the different needs within a business model, develop a strategy around that. So I focused on two streams which basically work together, a business development component in terms of development strategy, those sort of things, and then the digital transformation stream. And within that, I would then be able to slot in partnerships which could add value to a holistic approach to business development. And that's where we started at the start of lockdown, to develop this partnering model, because we saw the ability not just to accelerate value for ourselves and our clients, but when you start out and you don't have a name for yourself or sort of credibility in the marketplace because nobody knows you, I had to figure a way out to actually go and create that credibility. And for me, that was through partnering with recognized global brands and companies, where through accreditation, I could elevate what I was able to offer and use their backbone. So instead of me having to go and put 1,000,001 people in, I could use them as a support structure. They become an extension of my business as such. And then the coaching itself, I would do through these implementations as such. What it does do is it allows me to not then just have a single revenue stream. So in a typical coaching business, you might have one or two revenue streams, which is your coaching service and what you provide through that. With what I'm able to offer in terms of the partnering model and looking at it from a holistic perspective, I'm able to engage with a client at any stage in their journey, whether they're a startup, existing business, wanting to scale, wanting to exit, and there's some sort of pain point or need that I can tap into to build a sort of revenue-based relationship from there and look at how we build on that. And obviously with that, it then also gave me the ability to look at how I actually generate revenue. In a typical coaching model, you would be charging for your time and you'd recoup that through the sort of service you provide. Through a lot of the partnering relationships, I'm able to build out over and above that contractual revenue streams, recurring revenue streams through subscriptions, and becoming an extension of these global technology providers or thought leaders to actually grow a coaching business. As part of that journey, I then had a look at having to reposition the business itself and how to articulate what it is that I offer from a value proposition. And what I came to understand over that 10, 12-year period is that a lot of times business owners struggle to understand the process of value creation. So when you ask me what it is that I do, I've now been able to articulate it in a single line, which is basically the following. I work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and SMEs to start, manage, grow, and scale what we call a valuable business. That opens up a conversation around value creation, and through that, I'm able to then ask them to share more about their business. Who doesn't like talking about their business? And in doing so, I'm listening for the opportunities that may present themselves in that conversation around problems that they have in or needs that they have in the business that they may or may not know about. And from that, then to start a conversation around, did you know this or that? Or have you thought about this? Do you need have you ever looked at a technology stack or things like that? And that whole conversation, going to market with that now in 2023, we launched it and we spent the last 3 years putting that together, has really just changed not just the nature of our conversations, but owners, but we're also now engaging with CEOs and companies with 20, 30, 50 people, 100 people in their businesses, which for me is a massive game changer. It also allows me to attract clients that have a much higher value in terms of what I can do with those clients and offer those clients. What I want to just show now as we get to the last part here is just two really key tools that I've used in being able to do that. And I'm going to just share my screen quickly. The first is, let me just make sure I've got the right screen here, technology stack. Is it up on the screen?
Yeah, the 5 key technological stacks here.
So with me understanding digital transformation, the first thing that I looked at is, yes, I can take a coaching business to market, but I need to be able to support it with a back office operating system. And I use the technology stack framework as a means of understanding what to put in place when it comes to a client. We share this with them, we take them through the process, but I also don't go to market with something I don't utilize in my own business. So we take them through these 5 layers, and for yourselves as business coaches, this is important because you're going to have your front office, which is really what you do in the service delivery block there. Your infrastructure is basically your website. You need your CRM in terms of managing your client contact points. You need your supporting services in terms of your back office. And you need the business analytics on top of that to be able to understand what is happening in the business. So as much as I take this to clients, I apply it in my own business. And for any of you that are coaches, this is a very valuable framework which you can look at in terms of just building out your coaching business, because it's not just about service delivery. You need a tool to manage your clients. You need the marketing, as Xander has shown. You need a website that engages, all of these sort of things. You need back office to support it. So that was the first thing that I looked at, because part of what I was wanting to do was 10x myself. I didn't necessarily want to go and put people in place at this point in time where I don't know what they're going to be doing. I don't know what I need them to do. So I needed to figure that out myself, but be able to 10x myself. And I'm using technology and systems and processes to do that. The second thing that I then did was look at summarizing what it is that I offer a client onto a one-page document. And this for me is a very valuable tool, because I can share this as part of my first engagement with a client. And in it, I'm able to articulate exactly what I do. As you can see on the left, I talk about business coaching. On the right, I talk about the 2 streams, digital transformation and business development. The top layer looks at the technology interventions that I'm able to provide through my own services or through partners. So we build out anything from basic to dynamic websites. We are a Zoho authorized partner here in South Africa. We've been certified in terms of systemology to be able to help businesses systemize their business. We're in conversations with Haptic, which is a global leader in conversational AI. So we're able to come in and not just recommend an intervention, we actually implement it for our clients. And then on the bottom layer, we have all these business development interventions, from being able to help them understand their business model and pivot their business model as a startup or existing business. We look at strategy and execution. We're able to bring tools that support and help with that strategy and execution, like NXT 9 with the business assessment and Profit Co. And then we also work with funders like business partners, where we are able to go and source funding and unblock those constraints that funding may have in a business. And this has allowed us to have a conversation with a client at any point in their business with any need. And out of that, we start with a relationship. And for me, it's just about getting a hook in. If I can get a hook in, it might be a simple website that needs to be built, but I know this client has the ability to be able to be touched at other services that we can provide. And we do that. We get the hook in, and then we look at how we can actually increase that lifetime value of a client. And we don't forgo the bread and butter stuff where I started, which was the hosting. I mean, when we started, I built basic websites. Now I'm building business models around dynamic online platforms that generate revenue streams through that. And that opens up conversations with our clients. And then when it comes to coaching, what we are doing is we are coaching through the implementation. So rather than come along and we're going to now coach a particular client, it's conversational. We implement, we provide the solutions, and through that natural conversation, we are then going about coaching our clients in terms of strategies, interventions, and all of these things. So I hope that gives you a better idea of, from my perspective, how I approach the whole journey from where some of you may be at the moment starting out to 10, 12 years later, pivoting the business model, being able to now reposition myself and go to market, maybe in a very different way to what a coach is. And I'm not dependent just on a particular revenue stream at the end of the day.
Cool. Thank you, Alistair. That was fascinating. So that's a different way to tackle it. Most of us are generalist business coaches, so we tend to be holistic in nature and tackle the 8 different business disciplines and work on the priorities that your clients have for business building. But Alistair comes at it from a particular angle, from, call it, the operating side of the X-ray, the processes and systems and people that are needed in order to make that stuff happen. So, and that's the beauty of it. All of us come from a particular place. I'm strong in some of those 8 business disciplines, but there's some that I'm weak in. And when I'm a little weak in an area, as soon as I sense my client needs more help than I can provide, I wheel out someone from the ecosystem. So I have a collection of people that I know in a network. And I know, for example, if someone needs cash flow forecasting, I know who I'm going to call in. If someone needs some CRM help, I'm probably going to knock on Alice's door. So surround yourself with a collection of experts that complete the knowledge base and the skill base that your customer needs. And then, the last comment I would make is, ultimately, if you're going to be a successful business coach, it's going to be because you add value. And so you have to be able to solve problems for your clients, and they have to be able to see value. And if they can't see value, well, then there's not much hope for you, as a business coach. So now I'll open the floor. Questions for our 2 panelists for today. You can either put a question in the chat box, or you can stick up your hand and I'll invite you to unmute and ask your question. Okay. Obviously, we saturated you, and you guys have got a thorough comment from our 2 panelists. Alistair, yes, we will share Alistair's contact details and Xander's with you. Suleiman, you have a question. Go for it.
Yes, thank you very much, Wayne. My question is for Alistair. So I've seen your portfolio of things you carry, Haptic, Zoho, etc. How are you able to manage all? I mean, are you a one-man team, or do you have some resource behind you? I'm just trying to understand how you built your coaching and your consulting business.
So from a consulting model, I'm really the sort of first point of contact with the client. We're launching a networking group, our network with business owners. And because I go with a partnering model, although I'm the only person in my consulting business, I'm not alone, because I have a whole support structure that sits within the global partners that I work with that are able to then support as and when I need. But I'm the first point of call. So I'm not having to go and chase up and try and generate huge amounts of revenue because I've got to support a whole operational infrastructure. My sort of targets are much lower than a typical business with 10 people. So I'm able to go and I can implement, or I can call resources in to assist me. So Wayne's point around collaboration is very, very important. I've got these partners that I work with, but also, for example, with Zoho, I also collaborate with other Zoho implementation partners who have a team of people. So although I might be one, I've got clients that I'm busy with in implementation, but there's aspects that I need assistance, I will pull them in to help. Or I have other service providers that address issues as well. So I've built my model around how can I operate a business without having to employ a whole staff base to be able to manage at the end of the day.
And of course, other people. Silvan, yes.
Sorry, you muted.
Sorry, so I wanted to say thank you because I think you've given me an idea. So what I will do after leaving this meeting is actually to call Zoho and ask them for their implementation partners, right? So they may not do a good job of selling the business side of the product. So if I'm their front end, I get to see the opportunity first, and I have reassurance that there are people who can do exactly what they say Zoho will do. I also use their product as well.
Yes. You're welcome to get on a call with me, and I can put you in direct touch with the partner team and all of that. I think, Wayne, that touches on a good point as well, is with the power of collaboration as well. Remember, there's sometimes you might be going in as a coach and there's an opportunity that presents itself for your coaching services, but there's another need that that client has as well, which if you can't solve that need, you can't close the opportunity. And you may need to bring a specialist in some other area, and you walk away and nobody gets anything. So remember that as well. Very, very important.
Ultimately, it's about the client and what their needs are. Brad has put a comment, and maybe it's a question about the importance of focusing and what that means for you. So I guess it's aimed at our panelists. How important is it to focus in your business, and what does that mean for you? I hope I got your question right, Brad.
Zander, you do want to go first?
Do you want me? For me, focus is critical in all areas. So first, in terms of, I think most coaches don't focus enough on who they can serve and who they can't. So their marketing isn't differentiated. Then they don't focus enough on the actual pains of the client. Then they don't focus on getting one particular lead generation strategy working and going and really dialed in. When you have split attention across multiple things, it's like a light bulb versus a laser that can cut through some stuff. So I think focus is one of the key traits that most entrepreneurs need to actually develop further if they want to go up to the next level. And even business owners, when you're coaching them, most businesses fail because of indigestion, not starvation, doing too many things and trying to take on too much, and it just imploding everything else.
Yeah. And I think that's important, just to echo what Zander was saying. I mean, if you look at my one page, it looks like there's a lot that we're offering, and yes, we are. If any of you have not looked at developing your business model for your coaching business, that would be a very, very good place to start, because it'll help you understand your customers you want to target in terms of the customer segments, articulate your value offering, how you relate to them, how you engage them, the type of revenue streams you can generate, and then your whole supporting structure, your back office, in terms of the costs, the key resources, activities, and partnerships you need to be able to deliver on that. And that business model will help you stay focused, because it's going to drill into the things we've shared today, and like Zander shared around the marketing and all of that. But it keeps you focused, and it's so important to do that, to be able to hear the issues the client have and provide that solution at the end of the day.
Okay, thanks, guys. It's 2:00 now, so we're going to call a halt there. Thank you for joining. Thanks again, Zander and Alistair, for taking your time to share your thoughts with us. I think they've been very value adding. And to our coaching group, please feel free to share your comments on the webinar, on the community WhatsApp group, and please let me know what topics you'd like for future webinars. So feel free to give us feedback, and we look forward to talking to you again next month. We'll park it there. Thanks, guys. Cheers.